All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the broadcast. It is Wednesday, July 5th, 2017. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Global Reality. Thanks so much for being with us for another show. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Hope you had a nice 4th of July. If you're an American listener, if you're not, you couldn't care less. So we won't spend much time talking about that. But anyway, holidays are always good. I hope you had a good one. I didn't really, it was just another day to me. I might as well not even other than, the nonstop. We had I don't know if it's like this where you live, but I guess because of the way 4th of July fell this year on a Tuesday. I mean, it was nonstop fireworks for like a week here in Dallas. I mean, it was like every goddamn night. Like, come on. I'm surprised they're not firing off more tonight. I mean, it was ridiculous, man. Like a fucking war zone. Scaring all the animals and my God. I mean, it was ridiculous. But no, I've been too busy. Jesus Christ, man. I got to tell you what, folks. And I am going to tell you what. Oh my God. No, my ass was too busy down the fucking rabbit hole, down the entire rabbit hole. I thought I'd already gone down this motherfucker more times than I could count. No, I went on another trip down the rabbit hole and I'm discovering. I don't think this thing has a bottom. Let's just put it. Jesus fucking Christ, you guys! Oh my God! Oh my God! Those of you who've been paying attention on my Facebook page and on YouTube probably have gotten at least a little bit of an indicator of this, but you don't even know the half of it. And unfortunately, I can't tell you all of it now. I'll tell you some. I got lots for you. Don't worry about that. Oh my God. Yeah, I am down the fall rabbit hole, folks. Deep. Fucking deep. Maybe too deep. Jesus. It is, all I can tell you is oh man. Oh my God. It's even great. I don't know. For a minute, I was debating whether it was crazier than I thought it was or not as crazy as I thought it was. But after other things have come to light, yeah, it's crazier than I even thought it was. It's so amazing, man. Any of these big investigative cases, any of these research subjects, whether it be JFK, whether it be 9/11, or, just anything for the fall thing, it doesn't really matter. Scientology thing, that's a good example. It's just like the politics, we're given these very black and white choices and black and white arguments. Either Oswald killed Kennedy and acted alone, or it was a massive government plot and Oswald was a patsy and blah, 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 blah. But, and that's your choices, right? But the real truth, folks, and you know this to be true if you've done your own research and you've seen how this stuff connects, and you find this, when you do stuff like what I've done with my work, the truth, I never find that the truth exists purely in the black and white area. It always exists in the gray area. And, that's exactly what they count on you never seeing. Yeah, this, and by the way, also too, I've now connected this whole fall thing full circle into my previous information, previous research that I've done and put out. Spellcasters 1 and the rest. I fully connected it and am connecting it to Volume 1. It's just insanity. But I can tell you unequivocally, without any sort of doubt, I have cracked the entire fake Paul McCartney thing. I've cracked the whole thing. A lot of people have had pieces of it for a while before me, but they haven't had what I have now, and we're going to prove it and show it to you here in Spellcasters Volume 2. Unequivocally. I can't give you all the data and all the reasons why yet, but all I can tell you is that the whole Paul is dead thing, total bullshit. Total bullshit. Not now. Wait a second. Don't jump to conclusions just yet. Hear me out. I said the whole Paul is dead thing is bullshit. I didn't say he wasn't replaced, or that the original Paul wasn't replaced. Oh, he was replaced. There's no question about that either. Yes, he was, but the whole Paul is dead thing, total bullshit. The original Paul did not die. That whole thing was concocted. The whole thing with the car wreck, all of that was cooked up, and this is why they reinforced it and continue to reinforce it over and over and over again. In fact, the real Paul was they actually faked his death. For reasons I will show and proof and evidence of I will give and show in the Spellcasters Volume 2, because I have irrefutable evidence of this on multiple levels. The original Paul was given I wouldn't say it's the reverse, but I guess it's the exact same thing. The original Paul was given a new identity, and he was basically turned into a new person. They did exactly what they did to Fall, who isn't William Campbell either, by the way. That's been another thing that's been designed to throw us off the scent and throw us off the trail. It's William, but it's not William Campbell. It's William Shepard, Billy Shepard. Again, that was designed to throw people off the scent. That's where Shears comes from. Billy Shears, William Campbell, Billy Campbell, but Shepard. Like sheep shears, Shepard. That's why you saw after Fall comes around after he got with Linda McCartney. So all of a sudden you see the English sheepdog show up on the scene, and you constantly would see with Paul named Martha. Had the song "Martha, My Dear," all that stuff. So yeah, they had. So another thing too that people have gotten confused on is the fact that they were using doubles for some of the Beatles as early as 1964. Now, this is not the same. This is not to say that they were replacing people that early, but they had multiple doubles, at least for, I've never found any evidence for George, but at least for Ringo, John, and Paul, and definitely Paul, they had multiple doubles. In fact, one of them was the doubles for Paul that they used in the movie Help was the musician Spencer Davis, who had the band, the Spencer Davis Group, and had you've heard that song. I'm so glad we made it, yeah, yeah. That's the 15-year-old Steve Winwood on vocals on that. But Spencer Davis was one of the guys who was brought in. They had, and if you saw my most recent video uploads on YouTube, if you haven't, go check those out. George Harrison accidentally exposes fake Paul. And then Paul McCartney, I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair. Both of these are bombshell clips. And, it's just really fascinating to watch. Well, they had already been planning to replace Paul as early as, I think, 1965, maybe even 1960. Essentially, they were moving into, it's not really important. For now, you'll find out. Brian Epstein they had already been grooming this guy who was going to later replace Paul. because the powers that be wanted somebody else in that position. And I'll have all the evidence and stuff of that for you in the film too. So they went out of their way to convince us. This is why they've left so many breadcrumbs and left so many clues in the records and all the albums and stuff like that. They wanted the idea that the original Paul died to become this. They wanted it to become a conspiracy theory because they wanted to disappear for reasons, again, I can't give you right now because I don't want to give it all away, but it'll be in the film. But you got to remember, back then during that time, I mean, people are real particular about stuff now. I mean, how many careers have we seen ruined? What was that woman's name? I can't remember her name now. The TV, the TV cook woman. What was her name? I can't even remember her name. They caught her saying the N-word like on video years before she ever had her TV show. It ruined her whole career. Stuff like that. So back, you remember back in that time, the Beatles were considered to be the squeaky clean. The squeaky clean image was part of their image. That was a part of who they were. But anybody that knows anything knows that, when you've got young guys like that, 22, 23, 24 years old, all that over, not overnight. They definitely fucking paid their dues. I mean, they started in like 58 and, 1960 in Hamburg and all that stuff. I mean, they paid their dues. They were a band for at least 6 or 7 years, I think, before they ever, really made it. That's a long fucking time in a band. In fact, that's the reason why most bands break up. The only reason bands don't make it is because they break up. Any band, I'm telling you, is absolutely true. If a band just stays together, eventually they'll make it. Because eventually it just gets so good that, the tide just finally turns. But it's tough to sit out. But, if you make it, if you can keep a band together with, especially with this, almost the same lineup like that, for a good 5, 6, 7 years before making, I mean, that's a testament to the people that are in it, and a testament to, what you have musically when you're able to do that. Because it's completely unheard of. But these guys, these guys weren't squeaky clean. And there was some stuff that the original Paul did. Nothing, not what you would even consider. Really, what he did is just really par for the course, especially for a rock star. Really par for the course stuff. But back then, it was a huge thing, and anything that was going to be seen as a detriment to their squeaky clean image, Brian Epstein, their manager, was all over it. And Brian Epstein plays in hugely to this whole thing too, because he was absolutely murdered. Brian Epstein was murdered. He was murdered because his death happened the same year the original Paul supposedly died, which, of course, like I said, now we know is total bullshit. And it seems like they tried to do that to sort of overshadow their manager, Brian Epstein. There was all this stuff that was starting to come out or was in danger of coming out. There was a particular thing with the original Paul they were worried about coming out. And what's interesting about this is inadvertently later on, it many decades later gave us one of the greater clues that we have that prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that the new Paul is not the original one. So there was the thing with Paul they didn't want coming out, and then there was also a thing with John concerning Brian Epstein. Because Brian Epstein, of course, was homosexual. And him and John had a sexual encounter, because John was, John was known to putt from the rough himself. He was swing both ways, and yeah, John actually even openly admitted to this. He was just he knew that Ron Epstein was gay or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I was kind of curious about it, and I let him toss me off. He got his dick sucked. So, and again, that's an on for debate that actually, but there was something. Basically, it was like it's the same way as it is today, man. You back then, it was probably even the really genesis of that, the whole tabloid things and everybody's every move being watched and people looking for inside info and people paying off sources for info by reporters. Anyway, there was all these things that were coming in, and they were also, the powers that be were also getting ready. Tavistock Institute and the rest of it were getting ready to start using the Beatles to push LSD and psychedelic drugs. And the original, and what they wanted them to not write love songs. They didn't want them, go back and listen to the original Paul's output and listen to that, or, it's a lot of real cheesy, sappy girls, love you girl songs. And they wanted to take the Beatles even as early as 1965, that was 64 maybe even. It was already being planned. They were already, and the original Paul wasn't going to do that. 65 was when the Beatles, around that time, first started smoking pot. They hooked up with Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan got them turned on pot. Bob Dylan's another person, by the way, that's been supposedly has been replaced by somebody else. And what's fascinating about this William Shepard is that he's played a multiple amount of characters. I'll give you a little tidbit. Go watch Magical Mystery Tour. There's lots of clues in Magical Mystery Tour. Specifically the one where the Fall says he's 30 years old, which Paul would have only been 25, but we now know that he was, actually that is correct. He was, the replacement Paul is 5 years older than the original one. But there's also the part, it's just crazy. The part where the band, it's like the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band or something like that. They're singing that song, Death Cab for Cutie, in kind of a lounge. And there's that guy, the guy singing it, That guy's name is Vivian Stanshall. And Vivian Stanshall, along with Phil Ackrell, look into Phil Ackrell too, Ackrrill, Phil Ackrell. Phil Ackrell and Vivian Stanshall, as well as Paul McCartney, are three different characters that have all been portrayed by this intelligent, I can't say any more than that, intelligence asset, that's all I could say, named William Shepard. So, and this blew my mind. This really blew my mind because it's fucking undoubtedly him. If you look at if you put a picture of Phil Ackrell up, put a picture of Vivian Stanshall next to it, then put a picture of Fall next to that, you can see the evolution. Go watch that scene again from Magical Mystery Tour where he's singing the Death Cab for Cutie song, and look at the lead singer. Look at his left. If you're facing him, it's going to be on your left. It would actually be his right. So his right, your left. Look at his eyebrow. Look at his eyebrow. Look at the shape of his head. Look at the shape of the chin. It's right. I've watched Magical Mystery Tour 1,000 times. It's been right there in front of my face. It's one of those things. Again, like a lot of this information. Once you point it, you could not have seen it a million times. But as soon as it's pointed out to you, you see it. And that's how a lot of this Paul is dead stuff is too. It's like you'll hear this backward stuff and you don't really make it out. And then someone tells you what it is that he's supposedly saying, and then you hear it. that's that's what the Masons have been doing for years and years and years with their uh, architecture and the mathematics and the symbols and everything. It's been encoded in there. So the profane, the normal people see it one way, but then those with the eyes to see and those who know what these things mean see it a completely different way. That one really blew my mind. Holy shit, there he is. And yeah, this was Vivian Stanshaw was just another one of the characters. These guys have used prosthetics. It's beyond plastic surgery. We're talking prosthetics. We're talking full rubber, Hollywood style. This, you got to understand, a lot of this stuff has been around for decades. It's old tech now. People think that, they didn't have the technology like that, to have, latex and to change someone's appearance back then in the 60s. Bullshit. They had it longer than that. This stuff's been around a long time. Any of you ever watch Breaking Bad? If you haven't ever watched Breaking Bad, just don't even talk to me. It's like the fucking greatest fucking TV series ever of all time. And there's only one bad episode in that whole fucking series. The one with the fly, where the fly gets in the meth lab. Oh, you've heard me rant about how much I hate this new fucking Star Wars shit they're doing. They got the other one coming out this year. Guess who it's directed by? That new Star Wars movie. I can tell you right now. Again, gonna suck shit through a dick hole, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I know this already. Hadn't even seen a minute of the footage. Already know it. Last one sucked. That Rogue One sucked donkey dick. This is gonna suck too. The fucking new Star Wars is being directed by the guy who directed the only shitty episode of Breaking Bad there even was. That fucking fly episode. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, enough said. I don't even need to watch that fucking Star Wars. No, it's gonna suck. It took somebody. You have to be a shitty. Listen, you got to be a shitty director if you can ruin fucking Breaking Bad. But look at Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston does not look like Walter White. All of that. They even had his hands and stuff to make his hands look older. Latex and stuff on that, and the whole stuff with his bald head. No, he wasn't bald. He has hair, man. They latex him up. They made him look like that. That when you see him as Walter White, that's all prosthetics and latex and hours under the chair. That's not just, they didn't just shave Bryan Cranston's head and make him look like Walter White. No. They actually used prosthetics and made him look like a completely different person for that role constantly. But you never even know it unless someone points it out and tells you, because it seems seamless to reality when you watch it. It just, you're like, you might think for a second, okay, they shaved his head. No. They did a prosthetics job on that guy to make him look like a totally different person for that show throughout each episode. And the intelligence community has had this for spies for decades. They have been able to, for decades, take a person's entire identity and through surgeries, even including vocal cord surgeries, ladies and gentlemen, to make a person sound completely, permanently different than they sounded originally for espionage and spying purposes, especially during the Cold War, especially the OSS, even before the CIA were masters of this, the OSS, the CIA, British intelligence, they all had this. They all had the ability to make someone, they could take somebody and make someone look like, let's say they wanted to have, they knew there was going to be an assassination attempt against somebody, against a head of state or something. They could take somebody and make them look like this head of state who was going to be assassinated as a decoy. And then when someone tries to assassinate the decoy, boom, they swoop in and they get them because they didn't know they were coming. They got tipped off or whatever. And the original Paul had this done to him. And the guy who now plays the role and has played the role of him had the exact same thing done. Now, as far as John, I don't know. I don't know. There are people that have claimed There are multiple Johns. I have seen some stuff where the nose looks totally different. Same with Ringo. There's a few videos of Ringo, I think from the early, where it's clear he's got, it didn't even look good, y'all. It's a fucking, it's a fake nose. There's a couple times where the fake nose is like coming off. Your nose tissue and stuff, some people's nose tissue and cartilage grows as they get older and stuff. But if you notice, look at Ringo's, there's shots of his where his schnoz is so exaggerated in some of like 1963, 64 stuff. And then later on, it's much smaller. But undoubtedly, they had a problem on their hands with this problem with the squeaky clean image of the Beatles. And if they didn't move away from that, then eventually they were just going to have, the problems are going to be too much. Once they moved the Beatles away from that image, which the original Paul didn't want anything to do with, which again was fine for the establishment, because here's the thing, the establishment with any, this has not changed. You'll find this in almost every band, if you really dig deep. Almost every band who made it to the real upper echelons. Now, people have different definitions of that, and a lot of them are not correct. I'm talking about big mega bands. I'm not talking about, bands that are, pretty well known or whatever. No. We're talking about the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. We're talking about big mega acts. And I talked about this a little bit, I think, on the last show about, and this absolutely is true. Anytime anybody makes it to the upper echelons on their own that didn't come through the establishment system and isn't therefore controlled by them, they seek to eliminate. There's tons of these. And so they want somebody, and it happened to Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd had, it happened to Fleetwood Mac. It happened to two members of Fleetwood Mac. They were going in and dosing people. They happened to Brian Wilson too, from the Beach Boys. He was another victim of this from bands. There was a lot of them. A lot of them are not really talked about. People who were intentionally dosed with LSD and who knows what else in order to drive them mad, so they could get people in with these bands as replacement members that were either bloodline, or establishment or intelligence agents. But there was, I forget what Pink Floyd book it was. There was one of the Pink Floyd books I read, may have been called Saucer Full of Secrets. I can't remember. There was one about how they were approached. I can't remember what group it was, but they were approached by somebody that, group to join them, and they wouldn't join this group or something, and they turned them away. And then very shortly after that, Sid Barrett, supposedly, story is, he did too much acid, he went nuts. Very simplistic. That's not really exactly what happened if you look at it. He was poisoned and driven insane in order to be driven out of Pink Floyd so that they could push in Dave Gilmour, who was, one of their bloodline established people. This is why you saw immediately, Pink Floyd, they were already kicking good. They get Gilmour in there and all, literally overnight you've got Dark Side of the Moon and boom, they're off to the races. And notice Dave Gilmour, the only member of Pink Floyd that ever got knighted. Who else does he have that in common with? Fake Paul. Paul McCartney, only Beatle to ever be knighted. They wanted one of their people in the Beatles. And they told the Beatles, one of you is going to die. Not for real, but one of you is going to die. Basically, you're going to be, kind of like witness protection. You're going to be given a whole other identity. You're going to become a whole different person. You're going to look different. You're going to sound different, but we'll slowly transition you through it. That's what they would do. That's why you kind of see the ever-evolving look of William Shepard, from Phil Ackrell to Vivian Stanshaw to then Paul McCartney. And they slowly transition them over. But these guys had an agenda to push the Beatles' squeaky clean image from what it was, because, again, they knew stuff was going to continue to happen. If they would have tried to keep that squeaky clean image, the whole thing would have just sunk, because eventually they would have been fighting battle after battle after battle. So they needed a way to transform the Beatles into this new form, which they did with Sgt. Pepper, which, again, the introduction of the new Paul. Because once the Beatles are seen as, taking acid and smoking weed and this and the rest of it, okay, then somebody's not, there's not going to be as much of a freak out, because then the squeaky clean image, that's why they were trying to transform, and did transform, their fans and their audience along with them. And that's why it went from sort of being, this like the early prototype of a boy band, and transformed that, from the screaming girl thing over into this sort of, the new, what was then, it wasn't even, hard rockers running around there, but that's what it was moving to. And they started doing this even before the supposed car wreck with McCartney and the rest of it. Go watch those. It all started because the original Paul got in a moped accident. He got in a moped accident and fucked his face up 7 ways to Sunday. He wasn't the cute Paul anymore. Fucked his tooth up. His tooth was all fucked up. His chin was mad. That's when they started really getting nervous, because they had already had this thing that the original Paul did, and they were worried about the squeaky clean image with that. That was one thing. Then on top of it, in December of 1965, I believe it was, Paul has this scooter moped accident, and there's pictures of it. You can see the pictures of him, of what he looked like afterwards. He was fucked up, and that's when they were going to shit. He's the cute one. We can't lose. If we lose the cute one, we're fucked. We're not going to be able to do this anymore. So since the original Paul would not get behind the pushing of, he never tried LSD, didn't want to try LSD, didn't want to get behind pushing that. They were in danger of him, they thought he was going to get messed up and not be able to play the role anymore. So they had already been, not only had they already been working towards contingencies, the powers that be, they were already pushing to get somebody in there. So it was kind of a happy, because on the one hand, original Paul did not want to go with the pushing the LSD thing, did not want to go towards the drug thing at all. Didn't want to move away from love songs, wanted to continue to do, at least some songs about, which they did, which is totally, it's bizarre. But that was one of the Paul McCartney's, the replacement, that was one of his requests when he became the new Paul, was that, we're not doing any more love songs. I'm the primary controlling creative force behind the band. And that's, that's why the rest of the Beatles is when they started immediately having problems during that period. Because the only way they could get William Shepard to agree to do it was by these terms. He gets creative. And in fact, later on, Ringo and George sued Paul, because when he came in, he put all this stuff he changed the contracts and made himself be the primary beneficiary of all the songwriting royalties, when it was all supposed to be 50-50-50 between each band member. So there's no question about it that all went down. I have clips of George Harrison talking about this. It'll be in the film. But they wanted, so, again, the original Paul, they knew they had a problem. They were trying to figure it out because they were in danger of the whole thing collapsing. And that was the biggest thing that they wanted before. They wanted to make sure that they achieved the agendas they wanted to achieve with the Beatles before the whole thing fell apart on them. That was really, so at all costs, they were trying to keep the thing together. And they were worried about what the reaction would have been if Paul would have been killed. Go look at the footage of when the Fall McCartney, the fake one, when he married Linda Eastman. Not Eastwood, Eastman. Go look at the footage of that. This is just Paul getting married. I mean, the women, there's girls, they're losing their shit. They're coming apart at the seams, troves of them outside. I mean, the guy comes out, nobody even knew there. He was a small thing. They go in to get married, there's nobody there. They come out, there's fucking all these people out there, and all these women are fucking, they're losing their shit. Now you can imagine, you see the way they're losing their shit for him just getting married. Now imagine what that reaction would have been had Paul died, had to come out that Paul died. They had a very specific reason. They needed a way to, oh gosh, I can't even say it's about giving too much away. There were some legal proceedings coming against the original Paul that were going to damage his reputation, and they basically ensured that down the road, when I can't give away too much. That's giving away too much. I basically said all you need to know. Essentially, old Paul wanted out. Establishment wanted new Paul in. The Beatles were still under contract with Capitol. They had not fulfilled their contractual obligations to Capitol. They still had 3 or 4 records left on their contract. That's the whole reason why they kept it going and then eventually dissolved it. Because that was the other thing. They were in the middle. They were just about to start the songwriting for the next record. It wasn't called Sgt. Pepper or anything yet. But there's the famous story that they connect to when the original Paul supposedly died in the car wreck. They connect that to the story of Paul going into the studio and Brian Epstein giving them their songwriting allocations for the next record. Okay, George, you got to come up with one. Ringo, you got to come up with one. John, you got to come up with 5, and Paul, you got to come up with 5. And the original Paul, who was already, sort of on his way out the door anyway, was already kind of losing interest. He was pissed about this. And that's really the moment when they started saying, okay, we got to do something here, because they were contractually obligated. Had Paul left the band, had Paul just said, I quit, they would have been fucked. It would have cost them, who knows how much money. Once the record advances and all that stuff go out, see, this is people wonder why, they always ask, well, why would they do that? Why would they replace somebody? This, that, and the other. The reason why they faked the original Paul's death and created this meme, really the original meme, the first meme, if you want to get down to it, this meme of Paul is dead, is because they were committing fraud in order to protect the original Paul from some legal proceedings that would have ruined his entire career and thereby ruined the entire career of the Beatles too. That was what they were concerned about. Is it wasn't just that the original Paul and his image was going to not be. They were they really, really felt that it was going to bring down the whole group with it. And he wanted out anyway. So it was really an agreement. Now, what happened to the original Paul? That I can't tell you right now. I can tell you that it's not the guy who they tell you it is on YouTube. That's all I can tell you. It's not him. Now, who they'll tell you, if you go look this up and you look on YouTube, you look online, who they'll tell you it is, I can't remember the guy's name, John something. That is an interesting case, but it's another red herring. But it is another piece of info in all this to show you that they're trying to throw people off the scent of the original Paul still being alive. There's a guy who was the caretaker at the childhood home of Paul McCartney in Liverpool. This guy had this job for many years, didn't have any problems. When the internet age came about and people started having camera phones, people started videoing this guy and going there to visit the old, home of the childhood home of Paul McCartney, and encountering this older gentleman who was the caretaker there, who looks a whole lot like an old version of Paul McCartney. I mean, he really does. He looks a lot like him, folks. He looks a lot like him. So there's already been people out there. There are many people out there that are convinced that the original Paul McCartney didn't die, but instead he became the caretaker at the old childhood home of Paul McCartney. And then, of course, after the videos surfaced online, he was fired and no longer holds that position. But and let me tell you, that's a nice slick. They're getting a lot of people with that. They're getting a lot of people with that. Because when you see the rest of the evidence that I have, and then you see that, you go, well, that's pretty conclusive right there, We already know, look, it's a fact. The original Paul didn't die, but the original Paul was replaced. But the guy who was the caretaker or whoever, that's not him. That's another red herring. The guy that Paul McCartney was transitioned into another guy, new voice. The original Paul was given a new voice, new face, new identity. This is going to blow you away when I can finally tell you this. God damn. This really blew me away when I found this out and started finding all the other clues. Because this is something it's something no one has found yet. No one has found this out. I'm confident, ladies and gentlemen, that I will be closing the books. We're going to be closing the books on Fall. We're going to be closing the books on who really killed Cobain. We're going to be, I'll be showing you, Courtney Love's connections. Scientology plays into all this, folks. Don't you worry. MK Ultra plays into all this. CIA plays into all this. It ties, some of it ties back into the CMP end of it. We'll be talking some about the connections to the death of Randy Rhoads, which was not just some accident in an airplane like you've been told. Not at all. It was premeditated murder. Point fucking blank. As far as the whole Fall thing goes, it's unbelievable. It's crazier than I ever dreamed, ever imagined. Yeah, he was replaced. Yeah, he was replaced all right. What if I told you that I also believe and have video evidence to prove that they brought the old Paul out once, maybe more than that, but only once that I can prove, only once that I've been able to find. Not been able to find these again. There's a video clip I found. Blew me away when I found it. In which, in one scene, it's Fall. They cut to another scene, and when they cut to this next particular scene, especially if you go back and you A/B it, it's mind-blowing. Not the same guy. I found a scene where they actually brought the old original Paul out, took all the prosthetics off of him that they had put to make him into the new Paul, and brought him back for an appearance. It's mind-blowing. I've only been able to find one. But clearly, when you watch it, you're going, oh my God, that's... Because you see him. It's like, it's crazy. He looks the same age. He looks about the same age as Fall was. But instantly, you see him and like, oh my God, there's the original one. He's back. It's mind-blowing. They brought... Can I give that away? Should I give that away? Well, yeah, I'll tell you. Okay, look, first off, I'm not going to tell you who Paul became. I'm not going to tell you that till the movie, you're going to have to wait for the movie for that. I won't tell you who the original Paul became. I will tell you this, though. If you watch the movie Give My Regards to Broad Street, which came out in, I think, 84, there's lots of clues in that. There's lots of clues in that film. And one of the clues in that film that was pointed out by that winged beetle thing is actually not it's a bogus clue. The one where he says, you know, William, or like he comes in and he introduces Paul to this guy and he says, you know, William, if you watch till the credits roll, William is the guy who's the old man who he introduces Paul to. So that's totally bogus, which was my whole reason for watching Give My Regards to Broad Street. Because, boy, there's some cheesy shit in that. God damn. But there's a scene, because one of the things with the original Paul, he was not a classically trained musician. He was just a natural badass musician. He was just naturally badass. But he couldn't read music. Couldn't do music notation or write music or anything like that. But he was an amazing natural musician who later, probably had some training and stuff. But the replacement Paul, Mr. William Shepard, however, was a very, very trained musician, could write music, read music. Very interesting in Give My Regards to Broad Street because Ringo's in it, and it's all Brian Brown is in it, and Tracy Ullman's in it, and it's all about these lost Paul McCartney master tapes or whatever. And for some reason, I saw George talking about this too. George says, still don't know why he did that. He went back and recorded some like Beatles classics for Give My Regards to Broad Street. And that's where you can really clearly hear the difference when you don't really notice it. I remember seeing that movie when I was a kid, and when I was a little kid, because I kind of was onto this Fall stuff when I was a little kid. Even though I didn't know anything about the Paul is dead thing or that he was replaced, I just knew what I heard. I can remember the first time I heard Maybe I'm Amazed, I was like, that's not the same guy. That's not the same guy singing. It just isn't. And when you hear these older Beatles songs in Give My Regards to Broad Street, you're really like, yeah, that's not even remotely the same guy. But there's a scene in the movie where he's in a studio and he's doing it's right after the scene where the guy says, you know, William, and that everybody thinks he's, calling him William, which he isn't. If you start there, you get to that part. This part I'm talking about with Eleanor Rigby is right after that. They like record a song and they do one of his songs and he says, hey, let's go, let's do another, let's on to the next one. Let's do the next song. What's the next song? Eleanor Rigby. Okay. And you see the replacement Paul, he's in the studio and he has a music stand in front of him. He's got a music stand in front of him and he's turning page on. He's got the music and the words for Eleanor Rigby. Dude, you wrote the motherfucker. No, he didn't write the motherfucker. The original Paul wrote it. The new Paul didn't have every note of the song burned into his memory as any musician would. As a musician, when you record a song, you write a song and you record it. There is so much time between the time, most of the time, when you write and record a song, that you've played it and rehearsed it. You've done it a million times. You've done it so many goddamn times. By the time you get to fucking record it, man, you're down. People talk about musicians doing stuff in one take. You should always be able to do most anything in one or two takes. If you can't do everything in one or two takes in a studio, you did not rehearse properly, and you are therefore not a proper musician. Every time I record anything in the studio, if I'm doing drums, it doesn't matter, one or two takes at the most. If you ain't getting in one or two takes, you need to go home and practice on your own time and rehearse before you come back in on the studio time where you're paying by the hour. But here's in this scene for Eleanor Rigby, he's got the sheet music in front of him because, he doesn't remember the fucking song. Then while they're doing the song in the middle, they cut to like a sound stage, right? For the rest of the song. Presumably because the replacement Paul couldn't do that song. They didn't perform live after he came in the band. That wasn't one they would have ever done live anyway. Replacement Paul, when they were filming Give My Regards to Broad Street, he was not able to do that song. They had to bring in the old original Paul. They had to pull the prosthetics off of him for the new guy that he became, blow the dust off of him, and wheel in the old Paul to do the section of Eleanor Rigby for Give My Regards to Broad Street. Watch it. Watch it. It blew me away. You can feel it. You can feel the vibe. You can immediately see, and you can also tell that they did some stuff to him to make him kind of still resemble the new replacement Paul. I've read that uncontested they did that because you look at the teeth. Look, as I mentioned earlier, the Rain, was it Rain and Paperback Writer? Those were still featuring the original Paul. What was groundbreaking about that, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the transitioning of them from the squeaky clean Beatles over to, sort of the rocker Beatles, who would be then more associated with stuff like doing drugs and womanizing and that kind of thing. They didn't have to adhere to that squeaky clean, and that was the first. People have called those the first music videos, but they weren't the first music videos. The very first music video was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, and that only has to do with the fact it was filmed. It was the first musical. They called them promo films back then, promotional films. That was the first musical promotional film that was shot on the videotape format. That's why people don't realize that. The stuff there were promotional films and stuff that were kind of like music videos before Bohemian Rhapsody, but they were shot on film. That's the difference. That's why music videos were called videos, because they were shot on what was then the new videotape format. That's why they look different. Remember I don't know if you were like, when I was a kid, I used to always ask my grandmother, because my grandmother would always watch her soap operas, and I always know the soap operas look different than the other TV shows and movies. I could never figure out why does it look different? Well, that's because it's so soap opera, they were shot on video. But then when you watch a TV show or movie, that's film. Okay, it's two separate things, but the promotional videos that the Beatles did for Rain and Paperback Writer, if you watch those, you see Paul's jacked up fucking teeth in that. You can see his shit's fucked up where he had the fucking thing. I have a quote from Brian Epstein where Brian Epstein says, let me see if I can find it. Brian Epstein says, I'm kind of going from memory here. He basically says, this would have been in 1966. Here it is. So this would have been shortly before Brian Epstein died in 1966. He says, quote, last mid-December, Paul injured his lip and chipped his tooth in the moped accident. He honestly thought no one would notice the chip, for it's so small. It ain't small if you watch a Paperback Writer and Rain videos, promotional films. I told him 3 times he should do something about it. It is in a place where there are no nerve ends, so there is no pain. Paul assured me that he would have the tooth capped, but unfortunately he has not done so. Could he be afraid of the dentist? It's my opinion that he will just let it be. I mean, am I the only one that has chills? I mean, my fucking arm is on. That's Brian Epstein shortly before his death saying Paul will never get it, probably won't get it fixed. But then you see by 66, he's got it fixed. After the Paperback Writer and Rain videos, but that's the thing. The original Paul didn't get it fixed. It was that by the time the replacement Paul came in, he had his teeth weren't. It's not the same palate. The palate is totally different. If you look at their bottom teeth. Now, people have said, oh, well, he could have got his teeth fixed. Well, yes, but then there would have been video and pictures and stuff of Paul McCartney wearing headgear and braces and all that shit, which he didn't have. And there is Brian Epstein, shortly before his death. They suicided him. Made it look like it was suicide. But really what it was they needed to get him out of the way to assert the new Paul and Brian Epstein were not going to coexist together in the Beatles. It wasn't going to happen because it really became Paul's band at that point. But there's the quote from Brian Epstein where he said, Paul assured me that he would have the tooth capped, but unfortunately he's not done so. This is like mid-66. Could he be afraid of the dentist? It's my opinion that he will just let it be. And then what happens after they get the other? Because people didn't see this quote. Probably not very many people saw this quote back then prior to the internet. So they had no idea he said that. There's the new Paul, the new fall. Perfectly fixed teeth. Not a cap. You can tell it's not capped. Perfectly fixed teeth. And what's he doing? He's singing Let It Be. We're just sitting there looking right into the camera, looking right at you. That's another good piece of evidence. In fact, I'll put this up and I'll put a link so you guys can download this if you want. The movie Let It Be. Ringo and McCartney have both several times blocked this movie from being re-released. I got a really high quality Laserdisc rip of it that I then remastered the audio and video of, re-encoded into HD. Far superior audio. YouTube will flat not let that be posted. Everybody, I started reading up on it. Anybody that tries to upload Let It Be to YouTube, you don't just get a copyright strike. They shut your whole fucking channel down. So I can't risk that. But I will put it up on like a download site or something and let you guys download this remastered copy. There's going to be clips of it in. That's why I did it. I remastered it for Spellcasters 2. But you need to see the whole thing, and it's very hard to find. And if you can find it, most of the copies are crap anyway. So don't send me a bunch of million copies. Oh, hey, here it is. Like everybody did to the fucking Cotton Candy movie I mentioned, which I even said I already have a copy of that I pieced together myself. And still people sent me emails going, here's the complete thing. No, dumbass. Those are pieces. You can say it's complete. It's not. There's no sources. There's no film that you can take it from. So you have to take it from existing sources. The only existing sources of that film are all VHS copies, and there's only 2, and they've been cut and pasted together, just like mine. But Let It Be, my version that I have, that I remastered, the audio and video of, you need to see it because there's lots of clues in this. Because the new Paul was a master of vocal techniques and vocal disguises. Another element of being an intelligence asset, being able to change your voice. And people have wondered why the fuck Ringo and Paul have both multiple times blocked Let It Be, the movie, from being re-released. Because it came out in theaters, it was available on VHS and Laserdisc for a while, but even those are harder to come by. And they claim they don't want it out because it shows the Beatles bickering and breaking up. And really, there's not that much in there of them breaking up or even bickering. It's not even that. That's a bullshit excuse when you really sit down and watch this thing. The real reason is because you get to see Fall being Fall more than you ever got to see Fall before. Because the original Paul was not a very talkative guy. All of a sudden, as soon as the new Paul comes in, you can't shut the guy up. He's doing interviews everywhere. He's running his mouth constantly. And you can hear because, William Shepard was Scottish. The guy that replaced him was a Scottish guy. This is, of course, why immediately after the breakup of the Beatles, you see him up there with Linda McCartney. They're in Scotland, living in Scotland. And if you listen to Let It Be, if you listen to him talking, you can hear the Scottish accent coming through. The Liverpool accent's long gone. Yet in the later interviews, like more, the past 20, 30-year interviews of Paul McCartney, then all of a sudden he's acquired the Liverpool accent again. That's because, again, that's part of the espionage. That's part of the training. But if you listen and Let It Be, he's talking very much in a Scottish accent. He's being Fall. You can see it multiple times. And there's at least 5 to 6 different examples of him showing you in Let It Be his ability to make his voice sound radically different and do different things. For instance, I kind of call this the Fall type. It's that sort of thing that the original Paul didn't have. That you hear later where it goes down into that low deep horse, like that, like Long and Winding Road. And he was like, the long and winding road that leads to your door will never disappear. He goes into that real, and you hear that. You hear that in a lot of the Wings stuff and the later Paul McCartney stuff. But in Let It Be, when he does it, I don't know, you can't see who he's looking at. But you see him go into it like it's an act. And then there's another part where he's singing in an Elvis voice, another part where he's singing in like a Spanish voice. He's doing all these radically different voices throughout. And you can also really see, it's just crazy the vibe of that. You can really see that the Beatles at that point were reduced to Fall's backing band. And they're just not into it. And who could blame them? They had no choice. They were contractually obligated to. That's why they did the remaining records they did. The White Album, Sgt. Pepper, the White Album, Magical Mystery Tour, Abbey Road, and Let It Be. Now, this is where the chronology gets messed up for people sometimes. Let It Be didn't come out until after Abbey Road, but it was recorded before Abbey Road. This is why in Let It Be, the movie, there are scenes of them working on songs, doing songwriting and arranging for the songs that would eventually be on Abbey Road. But it's incredible to hear, because at that point, Fall hasn't really mastered, as he would later, the voice stylings of the speaking voice of the original Paul. He, through the years, masters it and almost becomes seamless at it. But in Let It Be, it's fascinating to watch because the way he's talking is different. His manner is, everything is totally different. God damn. There's so much more. I want to tell you more, but there's so much. I mean, goddamn, there's just so much I can't tell you. You're going to find it all out. There's just so much of this. Somebody asked a question on YouTube and said, oh, by the way, when I talked about the ferrets, I saw people ferreting the whole thing with Crowley and all that. I got that all sussed out too. Got all that figured out. Don't know how much of it I believe, but I got it all sussed out. It'll be in the film. Somebody said, so did Linda, did Linda, his wife, know he was fake, or were they married after the fact? Well, that's a good question. She knew from the beginning. That's why she started pursuing me. See, the original Paul was supposed to marry Jane Asher and all that stuff. But since she knew right from the beginning. See, Linda McCartney was a photographer, but she was also she was a huge groupie with bands. Huge groupie. I mean, I'm not going to mince words about it because she's admitted to all this. So this is not me shit talking her. She was quite a little trollop. Let's just leave it at that. She was a little, yeah. She was quite, by her own admission. This is not me talking shit. This is her own admissions. I used to have this book back in the in the 90s. And well, I've owned 4 or 5 copies of this. Every time I've ever owned a copy of this book, it disappears. It's out of print, been out of print for years, hard to get. And it's called Linda McCartney's 60s. It was a photo book, coffee table book, that compiled much of her photography work of, different people, famous people went from through the 60s, pictures of the Beatles and Beach Boys and Jimi Hendrix, everybody. And it literally, I remember getting this book when I was like 22, 23, and because the pictures are just incredible. The photography that she's got in there is really, really incredible. And, but I remember being like 23, 24, reading this going, Jesus Christ, woman. Kiss and tell much? Because, it was making me blush at 23 or 24. Every page was, oh, fucked him, wanted to fuck him. Ooh, I didn't like him. I was like, it sounded like the fucking diary of a 13-year-old horny groupie. I was like, Jesus, woman, you've got a bunch of kids. You're a mom. She just, oh, yeah, I fucked Jimi Hendrix, and oh, yeah, he was good. He had a big dick, and I was like, what the fuck? She was off the rails. Jim Morrison, oh, yeah, I did him. And then, like, the Beach Boys, she was like, I like the Beach Boys, but I didn't like them as much as I liked the Beatles because they weren't as cute, except Dennis. He was cute. And she maybe banged Michael. Oh, she banged all these dudes. And then she got married to some dude and had a kid named Heather before she got with Paul. She was only like 22 or 23, so she wasn't that old. She was a raging whorebag. But she knew what she knew from the Jump Street. She had been trying to get permission to take pictures of the Beatles. Couldn't get in. Couldn't get any pictures. McCartney, or Fall rather, tells the story that he was at some party or something she was at, and he was like, oh, who's that? I've got to go talk to her. But meanwhile, he would have been married, not married, but happily with Jane Asher at that point, and not out, he wasn't out pursuing tail, but he makes it sound like he sees Linda and is like, oh, that's a chick I'd like to get to, It's totally ridiculous. But anyway, she ends up coming to that Sgt. Pepper release thing where he's got the fake mustache falling off. There's footage of it where you can clearly see the fucking fake mustache. It's falling off of him. It was a fake mustache. It was a fake mustache. And prior to that party, Linda McCartney had gone to, or Linda Eastman at the time was her name. She had given some of her pictures to either Neil Aspinall or may have been Brian Epstein. Somebody within, maybe Derek Taylor, somebody within the Beatles head organization. I think it was Epstein. And Epstein said, oh, these are fantastic. These are great. So they gave her permission to come into that Sgt. Pepper release party. That's the one there's footage of where, of course, his fucking fake mustache is falling off, right? Yeah. So according to the story, Linda, because she had been taking pictures, she immediately, and she'd already heard stuff around the grapevine, she immediately knew that was not the original Paul McCartney. And she went point blank up to him. And point blank, she basically, I wouldn't say she blackmailed him, but she used her vagina to keep the secret and blah blah blah. She basically went up and was like, look, hey, how you doing? Blah blah. I know you like me. I like you. Whatever. I know you're not the real dude. And he tried to play it. No, I know you're not. Don't lie to me. I know you're not. You're somebody else. But I'm cool with it, and I can help you, create a new life and help you do this. So she was, I don't know, I'm not going to go as far as to say she was installed, but she absolutely knew about it and pursued Paul McCartney romantically because she knew he had been replaced. And there was some recordings that came out because supposedly Fall was beating on her as like spousal abuse. He's whooping her ass. And she made some tapes apparently in these tapes, not only was there recordings of the actual abuse going on, she apparently in these tapes also spilled the beans on him not being the real Paul. So Fall had to pay $200,000 out of his own pocket, and he did. Look it up. Look up just research the Linda McCartney tapes. Look it up. And he paid $200,000 to keep these recorded. They had not only had evidence of him abusing her, but also had her. This is the key. What they'll tell you in the media. The media try to play it like, oh, there was audio evidence of her saying that he beat her and this, that, and the other. But really, once you research it and you get down to it, you find out she actually, in fact, was making these tapes in case something happened to her. I think she was in fear for her life. She basically wanted there to be evidence in case she died that people could come back later and have, and tell them the truth on Fall. But we'll probably never get those tapes now because he paid $200,000 and got the actual masters, and he was basically blackmailed essentially. But it went to court, and so yeah. To answer your question from the listener, yeah, she absolutely knew about it from the very beginning, and I believe she was given cancer. Yeah, I undoubtedly, because everything was good for a long time. And as soon as the stuff started, as soon as around the time when these tapes were recorded, she died very shortly after that. And I talked about that winged beetle thing that people had asked me about. I after further review, I'm still sticking by what my last assessment was. The evidence, and I've found other stuff of people saying this to be true. Essentially, when they made the Beatles anthology series back in the 1990s, it was headed up by Neil Aspinall, and he was given permission to basically go through every piece of footage they had of the Beatles. And after they made that, they had a ton of this leftover footage they were going through, and they started to realize that they had a lot of evidence that nobody else had, and Neil Aspinall wanted to find a way to let people know what he knew about the whole fake Paul thing before he died. And so much of we don't know exactly who's putting it out. I suspect of somebody in the Beatles front office. It's somebody with an agenda to continue the whole Paul is dead thing into the future. But there's a lot of stuff there that stuff supposedly, although that, because there's so many rare clips and things that nobody that wasn't within the organization would have had their hands on. And stuff that flashes, like I talked about, the subliminals. A lot of the subliminals that flash on the screen, you can slow that down. I can pull it up frame by frame, my video editor. And most of the stuff that comes up subliminally in the winged beetle stuff and the rotten apple, or, that whole winged beetle thing, I'm a phony stuff. Most of it is all like Crowley and OTO and Thelema type iconography, which is very suspect and shady. I mean, you shouldn't be putting that in there subliminally unless you're trying to brainwash somebody with Crowley stuff. But the other thing I know is it flashes up on the screen for half a second I caught was this is bizarre. Like the medical report, like it was like the official medical report from Linda McCartney's doctor about her having cancer. And there's just no way there's just no way anybody would have that. And there's just no way anyone would flash it up on the screen for 3/4 of a second where you can't even see it. You have to freeze frame it to even see this thing. Nobody would go through the trouble of having that and go through the trouble of putting in there if it wasn't a clue. And once I broke that down, so that's when I definitely was okay. Somebody's trying to alert us to the fact that she was offed because of this knowledge. You're going to get lots more of this, and we're going to close the books on this permanently in Spellcaster Volume 2, and I'm going to tell you who the original Paul became. And, I'll connect it all to Scientology and all the rest of it. I mean, it's basically since the last show I did, I don't know, just all over the whole weekend and all through the holidays, I've just been in the rabbit hole of this stuff. And I've got so much new information and so much new data. that connects all of this together. And a lot of motherfuckers out there ain't ready. That's all I can say. A lot of you ain't ready. You're just not. I wasn't ready either. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, there's, again, everything we've been told. That's why people, were watching the videos I put up over the weekend where George clearly looks at fall. I brought it up in my editor. I zoomed in and everything. You can see he's pointing his glasses at Paul, looking him dead in the eye and saying, talking about when he joined the band. And they made him bunk with Ringo. And then the following clip I posted was where he says he joins the Beatles as an already established affair, which is absolutely untrue. The original Paul was a founding member. Because he even says before that, he was talking about when he formed Wings. Well, I didn't know how to create a band. I didn't know how to start a band because I joined the Beatles as an already, established affair. Which is true if he's talking from the perspective of the new Paul. Because that's exactly what happened. It was already an established affair when he joined. So, and when you look at his previous incarnations that he was in, as Phil Ackrell and the other musical acts he was associated with, I'll be detailing shown in the film. Yeah, that was true too, because those were all things that he was a part of. So Wings would have been technically the first time that he ever created his own band. And one of the, what was the name of that band? It was like Mercy Beat, something. I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, he put an album out and he did a bunch of Beatles songs on it. This was before he transitioned into Fall, and he did some Beatles songs on it and some of his own songs. And it was like, that was when they were grooming him as a musician and grooming him prior to becoming Paul. And one of the guys he had in the band that played with him was Denny Lane. And Denny Lane was one of the guys who also played one of the body doubles for McCartney early on. So who does he get? Who does the fake Paul, get to be in his new band, Wings? Denny Lane. His old buddy from the band that he had as they were grooming him to become the new Paul. It's insane. It's insane. It's just unbelievable. What I've put together here, nobody's put together yet. And I'm telling you, a lot of people ain't ready for this. It's blowing even my mind, but it's just irrefutable. I haven't mentioned this the whole show. I want to mention this. This is going to be going on tomorrow, Thursday. Tomorrow, Thursday, July 6th, that's my birthday. And we are going to be we've never had one of these before. I've never done this. Jones always has the fucking money bombs. These multi-million-dollar money bombs and shit. What the fuck? Just to say George Soros controls everything for the 5,000th time. Or to pay off his fucking lawyer fees. We've never had a money bomb, and I would refuse to do anything called that. But so instead of a money bomb, we're going to have an IED, an improvised economic device. So for one day only tomorrow, Thursday, July 6th, my birthday, my 41st birthday, I am directing everyone to contribute whatever they can, whatever amount, or to make gift card purchases, which you can read, for our Global Reality 10-year anniversary fundraiser. We are trying to raise an amount of money to be able to buy new equipment, new studio stuff. We want to take this to a whole nother level, folks. And with the information I'm coming across now and what this is going to be leading to beyond even Spellcasters 2, it's just incredible. I mean, I feel like I'm on fire again, like somebody threw fucking gasoline on me again with all this new shit I'm finding out. But for my birthday, all I want is for you to contribute to our 10-year anniversary fundraiser. This fundraiser is a celebration of Josh's 10 years of filmmaking and broadcasting. his show. We are in serious need of computer equipment upgrades so we can not only continue to bring you quality information, we can do it at a level unavailable to us before now. We'll be launching new shows and webisodes on a variety of topics. You can purchase online gift cards either in partial amounts or full amounts for the things we need, all of which can be purchased from apple.com, reverb.com, and amazon.com. Use globalrealityshow@gmail.com as the gift card email address when you purchase the online gift cards. And all this that I'm reading is for you on the campaign page for the 10-year anniversary fundraiser. I'm going to be doing check-ins tomorrow on air. We're going to be giving away prizes tomorrow. Everybody that contributes tomorrow, up to a certain amount or whatever, you're going to have, we have perk packages, donate 100, donate 500, donate that, whatever. We've got perk packages there, but we're going to be doing a separate thing tomorrow, just for tomorrow, where, when you contribute up to a certain amount or whatever, and we'll probably have one even too for small amounts. If you donate $20 or something, we'll give you a download at least or something. But anyway, pretty much everybody that donates, contributes tomorrow is going to get a prize of some kind, whether it be something small like a download or, something better than that if you contribute a higher amount. But we've never, at the Global Reality in 10 years, we've never done a money bomb. We've never done a fucking any of that shit or anything. But tomorrow is the day, Thursday, July 6th, 2017. We want to raise, if we could reach our whole entire goal tomorrow, that would be even more fantastic, because then we could get all this gear in here before the actual 10-year anniversary in September. And then once the 10-year anniversary gets here, we could be like, boom, and put it all into use and place and launch the 10th anniversary with the new gear. That would just be incredible. That would be insane. But we're actually running the fundraiser all the way until Tuesday, September 26th, which is the exact day of the 10-year anniversary of the show. But we want to raise, if not all of the whole amount tomorrow during this, maybe we'll surpass it. If we surpass it, we could do even more. But we want to get every single person out there tomorrow. I'll be doing, be sure to stay close to the archive. You haven't got a membership to the archives, the member archives at my website, theglobalreality.com. You need to do that. Complete full shows are going away on YouTube for me very soon. I've threatened that for a long time, but it's coming. It's coming in the next week. I'm not going to be putting entire shows up on YouTube anymore for free. You can get a membership to our archives for $10 a month, and so much for a year. There's all kinds of packages in there. And then we're also going to be putting up the shows daily to purchase individual downloads of for $3. So it's cheaper if you just go ahead and buy yourself a membership, which I've tried to encourage people to do, and a lot of people still haven't. But we're only going to be putting partial shows on YouTube after about next week, and we'll be selling individual shows as well. This just has come as a result of just barely scraping by each month. We barely scraped by into July again. We had a very small amount of people versus how many we had. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Our listenership right now is going crazy. I mean, we have more listeners right now than we've ever had, and yet we had last month far fewer contributions than we've had in a long time. And I got a few emails from people who just confirmed my decision even more. Saying stuff like, I'll take whatever free information you put out on YouTube, and I'll never support your work. And I'll take every bit of free info you're going to put out there. You see that? That's the kind of cocksuckers that I've been fucking dealing with. Y'all thought I was making this up. No, they exist. They're out there. And I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to. Why should I put my life and my livelihood and everything on the line and do this for 10 years, barely scrape by and survive every month, and then you get to come and take it for free? I'm not going to do it anymore. I am worth more than that. What I do is worth more than that, and the information I put out and research that you will not find anywhere else is worth more than that. And the thing about it is, the people that get it, there are people that get it, lots of you. I don't even have to explain that to them. That's just for an aside for the people that still don't get it, and I don't care about them anyway. Those of you who do, I love you. Those of you who are with me, and you know who you are, I just can't tell you enough how much I love you guys, and I'm ready to do this for another 10 years with you, and I'm proud to have you all stand with me. And again, when you support my work and you make a contribution and you donate, you're a part of this. And you stand with me when you do that. Doesn't matter if we've never met, doesn't matter if we ever will. and it's not a movement. It's not a, I'm not a leader and I'm not trying to run for fucking political office or anything. And I'm not trying to, be any kind of figurehead. But I do want to be and do what I can for the people who can't. There are people out there that don't have the ability to be able to do a radio show and make films and don't have the talent to do that. I try to use my talents for the people that don't have those talents, and that's the reciprocal relationship that I have with the people that contribute. Because I have many conversations with people that donate all the time, and that's how they feel. I work my ass off doing this, and they work their ass off doing what they do, and they, provide me with donations so I can do this, and I provide them with information in turn. That's what it's going to take, man. Because real people who aren't controlled by these groups and these agendas are going to be and are the only thing that could truly turn this around, because there's so many people out there, man, especially with this fall stuff. There's so much disinfo out there that's just being perpetuated over and over and over again. And as I've stated in this show, the main one is that Paul's dead. Paul's not dead. He is not dead. But the original Paul did get replaced. That's a fact. It's just wild, isn't it? 41 years old. I'll be 41 tomorrow. It's crazy. But we really do have to we want to get as many contributions as we can in here, if not all of it, tomorrow for our 10-year anniversary fundraiser. One day only. I thought it'd be a great day to do it on my birthday. I was going to do it on 4th of July, but I thought, we'll do it better. 24 hours all the way through, starting at midnight tonight, the 5th into the 6th. That's when it begins. I'll make some regular postings and stuff on Facebook about it, and we'll also have some various updates. So what we're going to do is, throughout the day, I'm going to be doing video updates and shows and stuff posted on YouTube and in our archives throughout the day. So as soon as we start getting our contributions, we did get one already for $50 from Mike. I won't be giving out people's last names, but I am going to say your first name. Mike, thank you very much, buddy. You know who you are. I love you, man. Mike got us kicked off with our first contribution for our 10-year anniversary fundraiser. He got us kicked off with $50. So, Mike, I will have a prize for you, my friend, especially one for being our first contributor there. So I'll get in contact with you on Facebook or something. But anyway, that's kind of what we're going to do. Every time somebody contributes, I'll say thank you, congratulations, thank you to whoever for making a contribution for whatever amount. And then I'll tell you win a prize or whatever. Anyway, we'll do that, and we'll update it, and I'll be like, okay, we've raised this much. We need this many more people. We'll kind of do it like a telethon style thing. But it only works if people contribute. If I'm doing 3 or 4 shows and nobody's contributed yet, it's not going to really work. So again, it's the first time we've ever done anything like this, and it requires your participation. So if you contribute, every person that contributes any amount, doesn't matter what it is. When you contribute your amount, after you contribute your amount, I want you to think up of a question, something you want to, a question about something you want to know. Every person that contributes tomorrow during the IED, improvised economic device, we're not calling it a money bomb. That's a fucking Enchilada Jones fucking turd statement, turd saying, turd fucking turd label. On top of whatever prize I'll give you, you'll also I may not pick everybody's question or get to everybody's question, but everybody that contributes will also be eligible to have a question answered by me on air during the IED festivities in the next 24 hours starting tomorrow on my birthday, July 6th. So, as well, but we're going to have different prizes to give away. We'll have some different stuff. If somebody comes in with a big amount, they'll get a pretty badass prize, but I don't know. I thought it'd be something fun to do for my birthday. I just want to be able to go out and have a steak. That's what I want. Oh, I do have another call out I want to make for my birthday, another birthday request. Does anybody, this is just a long shot. I don't even know. But you know what I found? And since I've been doing this, I found sometimes that if you just put stuff out there to the universe, sometimes it happens. I've done it before and it does happen. This is kind of a long shot. I'm putting it out there. It's really the only thing I want for my birthday, just for me. And look, anybody that knows me, like I've never gotten any, other than the ability to just keep going month to month. That's the main thing I've gotten out of doing this over the past 10 years. I mean, I'm not rich. I don't have a lot of money ever. Everything goes back into this, and we barely make it by every month. And I never ask for anything for myself. I mean, I hadn't bought new clothes in a couple of years. I need new clothes. There's stuff like that I need that I just don't have money to buy ever for doing this. But I never ask for anything for me personally. But I do have requests for something for me personally for the first time ever for my birthday. If anybody could help me, if there's anybody out there that works in like tickets, maybe around where I live in Dallas, and anybody have ticket hookups? Anybody have concert ticket? I need somebody who has a concert ticket hookup. That's what I need. And I need a fucking Boss. It's got to be Boss, dude. It can't be upper. I won't sit there. I won't even go there. It's got to be Boss. It's got to be big Boss of like section 12 or some shit. I need a ticket. Somebody's got to hook up. Maybe if you can even get me a discount, that would even be good. But if you can get me a free ticket, that'd be even better. That's why I'm putting it out there. I'm not exactly sure when the concert is. It's next month. It's in August. I need a ticket for the Queen and Adam Lambert show in Dallas coming up next August. If anybody out there has a ticket hookup, anything like that, get a hold of me. I went to the last show they did in 2014. And listen, I've seen everybody. Pretty much anybody that could have been seen by me in the last 25 years, I've seen them. You name it, I've seen them. Saw Nirvana twice. I've seen Dylan. I've seen the Stones. I've seen fucking Radiohead. I've seen everybody. Tool, Rush, fucking 20 times. That was the best show I've ever seen. It really was. Anyway, I need a ticket on Brian May's side on the floor. Anybody can hook me up. If there's anybody out there, putting a shot in the dark, you working tickets. Somebody got me a front row ticket to fucking Tool one time, and I couldn't even go. I didn't get to go and use it. So pissed. It was one of our listeners. I was so mad. I think it was in Austin or something too, and it's just like 4-hour drive. I couldn't make it, but still, someone did send me a free ticket one time. That's pretty radical. Anyway, that's like the only thing I really want for my birthday. The set list they're doing on this tour is just phenomenal. The last one was great too, but they're pretty much doing all the songs I didn't get to hear last time. They're doing on this one, doing I'm in Love with My Car, and it's the 40th anniversary of the News of the World album, so they're doing a healthy amount of that, including my favorite all-time Queen song, It's Late, which they only did a handful of times live, maybe once or twice. Anyway, if you're a Queen fan, I'm not a fan of Adam Lambert, of his solo. I mean, it's crap. It's total crap. He can sing those Queen songs amazingly. I mean, at first he sucked. They put him through the ringer and got him good at it. But it's not him trying to replace anybody. If you love Queen, it really is the only as close as you're going to get to sing what that band was like, and it's close. And the whole thing's a tribute to Freddie anyway. They even bring him in technology-wise. I mean, it's pretty fantastic the way they do it. I was so blown away. I was pretty close last time, but I was so blown away when I saw the show last time. And when it was over, I was like, oh, man, how was it? I downplayed it. I was like, I just said, oh, it was good, whatever. But in my head, I was going, dude, it was the fucking greatest show I've ever seen. It was the fucking best show I've ever seen. But I didn't want to say that because I figured people would think I was overblowing it or, whatever. And the very next day on Brian May's blog or on his Facebook page, the quote from him was, Dallas, you just saw the best Queen show since 1986. And I've seen every show, all the videos, everything they've done a million times. He wasn't wrong. That was the best Queen show. That show in Dallas in 2014 was the best Queen show that they did since 1986. No question about it. It was phenomenal. They were just on fire, firing on all cylinders. If you're a fan, I would highly suggest going to see this tour. If you've been reluctant about maybe not going or you think it wouldn't be good, I'm telling you, they take venues that have shitty acoustics, like American Airlines Center in Dallas, and make it sound not only like it has good acoustics, but like it's good acoustics and beyond. The stage that they're using for this tour is insane. The stage itself is shaped like Brian May's Red Special guitar, and these fucking crazy screens on top. Just a phenomenal show. Hit after hit after hit. I highly suggest you go. Anyway, if anybody out there's got a ticket hook up, you can hook me up with an A seat. Front row would be even fucking better, but, I'll settle for... Got to be on Dr. May's side, though. Anyway, that's it, guys. I got to get back to work here. We're looking at sometime probably... I'm shooting for maybe second week in August, some middle August, maybe somewhere in there to have this movie done. But I'm not going to rush it. It'll be done when it's done. And none of you assholes that leave comments on YouTube telling me to hurry it up and get it done, you have no power over me. Because I did that before and it sucked. Listen, go watch my first film, 9/11 New World Rising, Cigarette Volume 1, Cigarette Volume 2. You know what those three films have in common? They were rushed out the door. They were rushed to completion before they should have been by eager, pushy people who were pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. So I fucking listened to them. Those first three films were made rushed, and it shows. So by the time I got to The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1, I said, not doing that ever again. Not going to do that ever again. Not going to allow myself to be pushed into rushing something out the door that isn't ready to be. I have my target dates and I have the rest, but don't do that. Somebody left a comment and I'm sorry, dude. You might have had the best intentions at heart, but you pissed me off because you have no fucking idea what it takes to make a movie. Yet you just want to make these fucking these statements, and expect me that I'm not going to be mad about it. I was pissed about it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to read you what the guy said. He said, just my 2 cents as an anxious listener, I think it's about time to spit out Spellcasters 2. No, motherfucker, you don't get to tell me. Number one, you can't just spit it out. Do you really fucking... Dude, if it was possible, you can't just spit this stuff out no matter what you do. It's impossible. But you've never done this, so you don't know that. I can't make the computer process any faster than it processes. I can't... This is meticulous work, dude. This is like putting together a 1,000,000-piece jigsaw puzzle that's been shrunk down to miniature size, and you're using nothing but a little magnifying glass and little tools to put it together with. I think it's time to spit out SC2. There's always going to be something new to add. It never ends. Some point you got to say that's it for now. Windows open, buddy. Let her fly. Not to be pushy, but we're fucking waiting. Man, fuck you. You are the kind of motherfucker with a statement like that makes me never want to make a movie ever fucking again. You have no fucking clue what it takes to make a movie. You've never done this yourself. If you did and you had, you wouldn't say those kind of things. So let me say to you, the movie is going to be ready when it's ready. And if it takes another year for it to be ready, it takes another year for it to be ready. Now, it's not going to take that long. But I refuse to let my work be rushed and bullied and hurried anymore, because when in the past, my first 3 films I did that with, you can see I wanted longer to make those movies, and everybody was pushing me. So I listened to them and pushed it out, and the results are in the proof is in the pudding. Quality work takes quality time. Nothing good is done in a rush or in a hurry. When you hurry and you rush, you get crap results. And I'm not going to do that. Each successive film that I made after the decision to just, do it till it takes time. And look, I mean, you're making it sound like I'm bullshitting or something over here. Man, fuck you. I'm making progress on these subjects that no one before me has even fucking made. You are getting stuff. You are going to be getting stuff in this film, and you already are getting it in Spellcasters 1 and 1.5, which you can go get downloads of in the download shop. Go watch those while you're waiting on 2. But this thing of, oh, I've got to get it out now because you want it now. I mean, and a lot of this just coming from people that don't ever fucking donate a goddamn thing because they don't do shit themselves. They're just like greedy, hungry consumers who just want to consume, and they have no care or idea about what it takes to create something like this, especially when you're one person. They think you think it's just some sausage factory that could just, spit it out. It doesn't work like that, dude. This thing has to be mapped out, written out, sequenced. All the information has to be sequenced, researched, and then you have to do all the voiceovers. Make sure the pronunciation's right. Make sure there's so many little details that you just can't even rush. You couldn't rush if you wanted to. Then once you do voiceovers, then you've got to edit all the voiceovers down individually. And then start putting the video so you can make your dialogue and your research and everything play on the screen. Music, the rest of it, it's not easy, man. And it's not quick. And it'll be done when it's done. Jeez. It really pissed me off the other day when I read that. I read that comment. It's like, dude. You just have no idea. All right, folks, that's it. Y'all ain't ready. Some of you are. Most of you, not ready. All there is to it. Hey, theglobalreality.com is my website. Let's get this IED going. Let's see if we can raise all of this on my birthday. But either way, hey, kick something to me for my birthday. Let me go get a steak or something, for God's sakes. Jesus. I've been eating crap for so long. Let me get something good up in here. All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.